I finally just kind of got to a point where I'm like, I think I'm done with WoW again for a while. It's been a while since I've taken a break. I am definitely on what I think is a break. I'll tell you what I'm not doing. I'm sure as shit not playing Final Fantasy. I do not like this MMO. Wait. Oh my god. Oh, I started to miss you so much.
That's pretty sweet.
Oh no, you're not gonna.
No,
friggin-
don't do it.
Oh.
Don't do it. Oh.
He smuggled us.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Boy, they really know how to pull the heartstrings.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Well, Kyle, we ended the Dragon Song War. We found the Scions, kind of. We fought the Storks, the Warriors of Darkness. We skirted what looked like certain civil war in Ishgard. We survived the most badass return of Nidhogg. And somehow Estinian survived all of that.
And we did it all in minimum eye level. It was honestly a badass chapter.
Dude. Oh man. I'm now gonna be one of those people. I've been converted. This is not some big declaration that I've been converted to an FF14 player. I'm already there. I have been converted to one of those Final Fantasy 14 players that yells at everybody to do stuff in mid-eye level, because it really does make a difference.
It was a perfect storm of interesting mechanics, cool boss, but also a climactic story where I wanted it to last. I wanted it to be difficult. I wanted to have that moment as I fought down Nidhogg. And what a climax for it all. And we're halfway done with the patch content. Like, this is still not the end today of Heavensward.
Well, we're technically, there's only, what, one more patch, right?
3.
There's 3 more patches?
There's 3 more patches.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What? This felt like such a definitive end. There was a figurative and a literal closing of a book. We literally saw Daddy Fortom close a book. Like, it's over. It's done. Yeah, it's like, this feels like the true ending. The fact that there weren't credits surprised me.
We'll have to see how Return of the King this gets in its end. Do we have multi-ending here? I assume it's going to be more of a build-up to Stormblood. We still have other Scions to find before we are all back together for what I assume is going to be kind of the point of Stormblood. Actually, I don't know. Heavensward, everyone said Dragon expansion, super clear. Stormblood, what's it about?
Yeah, I don't really know where we're going. The patches we have left are going to kind of guide us along, and I'll have a better idea. But it sure feels like the main thrust, the main arc of Heavensward, like everything that involves all of the Ishgardian dragon bonanza that we've been going through has come to a conclusive end. And God, what a freaking end it is. And it's so funny to think that there's 3 more patches, because not to throw shade on 3.1 and 3.2, maybe throw a little bit of shade at 3.1 and 3.2. Good Lord. 3.3 was clearly the favorite. Like, it feels like they looked at the story they had to tell and they were like, 3.3, you're getting all the love. You are our favorite child. Because what else did we get? Like, 3.2 had like the grand melee. Like, yay.
3.1, we did quite a bit. We found Thancred. We met the Warrior of Darkness. And we did like a Return to the Vault arsonist thing.
We also met Kryl, who is now one of my favorite characters.
And in 3.2, we did the Find Minfilia thing and then the Grand Company thing. So I'd say the 2 earlier patches were balanced, if you will. But this is all to give that, sense of space. What we have to do is have Nidhogg be a mystery and kind of tease that out a little bit. He did fly off and all that to go make war and such. And we have the political systems going on at Ishgard with the removal of a 1,000-year reign archbishop into their new governmental system, which oscillated between like Game of Thrones interesting and there's a lot of people, what's going on.
3.3 just seems so focused. Like, all right, it's time. Our side stories, our B plots, and maybe set up for future expansions, especially in what happened with Minfilia and Hydaelyn. That is out of the way. Let's get laser focused on where we left off with everything in Heavensward and bring the Dragonsong War to a climactic conclusion. You know, now that I look back on it, I was so not in love with the Grand Melee and was pretty let down by it that I think it kind of soured me on 3.2, that I need to be reminded that 3.2 also included like the Antitower and the big Minfilia reveal lore bomb drop. There's some really good stuff in 3.1 and 3.2.
As soon as 3.1 gets going, we want to find some Scions, and to do so, we get Kyle on board, who is instantly endearing. I gotta praise that fact. Like, they're adding in more characters. There's a lot of characters, and the fact that yet another one comes in, you're like, I like you. Well done, game.
Final Fantasy XIV really does have strong characters. Like, they feel fleshed out. Now, having said that, maybe not Ida. The fact that it does have such an ensemble cast, and I feel like I have a strong grasp on everyone's motivations and personalities, and how quickly they sold me on Kyle. Like, I'm just mad impressed. I'm also impressed that the Kryle's still alive. At this point, I just assume new Scion, they're going to kill you off pretty quick. Rest in peace, Mombrita.
That might be some echo business going on. She's clearly quite powerful, quite important. One of the things that really instantly endears her is that she just knows all the Scions. So she comes in and makes us feel like we haven't really gotten to know our friends at all. Like, there's so much more story to tell. She's constantly jabbing at their backstory and like getting in their personal business. And you're like, yes, go on. Oh, juicy gossip.
It's real meeting your adult friends, college roommates energy, where you're like, oh, I am not on the inside of these jokes that they're making, and they have all these wild stories to tell me. Just the way that Kyle immediately disarms Alphino, which apparently is not hard. Everyone disarms Alphino, but Kyle, like, the way Matoya disarms Alphino is different from the way Kyle does it, even though Matoya also knew Alphino from his past. It seemed more as equals, which is interesting because I did carefully Google, and Kyle is significantly older than Alphino. Alphino's in his teens, and Kryle's in her early 20s, which now at this stage of my life doesn't seem like that many years between them. But when you think about that time, like, you think about the difference of like out of college and still in high school.
I mean, she's anime wise at this point. She's ancient in anime years.
It's a very good way to put it. Yeah. We would consider Kyle old in esports. Kyle is esports old. I don't know. I found Kyle really charming and witty. Like, I had the right amount, the fun amount of sassy without coming across as like mean spirited or grating. Just a good balance. There's just something about this character that I really like, and it looks like we're going to see more of Kyle, and I'm happy about that.
And that puts us on the path of finding Thancred. And it's a rather adorable story and a continuation of the lore of the live stream, as he too appeared naked, yet in the woods by himself. Had to get with our favorite buddies, the Vath, to shop for clothes for him.
The strategically placed Nutkin, as someone who still thinks Blink-182's What's My Age Again music video is peak comedy. That was great.
Oh,
that made me laugh.
I would have gone with Austin Powers, which there's this like B storyline going on where we're getting to know Vnofnir in the background with Lucia and the diplomatic Ishgardian things. This eventually heads us towards the Vath camp again, where they've once again resummoned Ravana, but it gets defeated before our eyes by the Warrior of Darkness and his party.
That is a really good fake out, by the way. I totally bought it, hook, line, and sinker. They were going to go back and fight Ravana. I thought maybe this was going to be a required hard fight. They just completely pull the rug out from under us and are like, nope, you're going to be outdone by Derplander.
And they all have the echo. There's like a whole party there's Warriors of Darkness. And they all grab their heads and are all like communicating memory psychic with us. Naturally, these Scions had the same question as us. Oh, who are these people? Why are they killing primals? Why do they have the echo? Why haven't we met these people who like killing primals if we are basically the primal killing club?
And also, frankly, they seem a little full of themselves. Like, if they're that cool, why haven't we heard of them?
Have they been in like a void? Were they created by the bad guys? But we also get like a flashback of theirs where they seem to be fighting Ascians. So did they lose and then get like mind controlled? Like Thancred was?
Like, when we first meet them, I'm like, were they like offered power by the Ascians? Like, are they just adventurers in our realm and they've just kind of like they've sided with the enemy? But when we get that Echo scene, that's where I'm like, wait, are they from like a pocket reality where it's similar to what we're dealing with here, but they went down a dark path instead of a righteous path? Because it seemed like they went through the exact same stuff that we went through in A Realm Reborn, just with a different outcome.
I like that they like fighting, though. It's a trope that really comes up a lot in anime and JRPGs. I just love this idea that when you find your equal, it puts a smile on your face.
When you find like a true challenge, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like I have not been quiet about my love for Dragon Ball Z on these videos, and I got mad Dragon Ball Z vibes from a lot of Heavensward patch content so far.
When we find Thancred, he's had his like magic fully cut off. He can't even use the teleport network in the world now. He has to walk everywhere.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I mean, at the time of recording this, having completed 3.3, it's still kind of unclear as to what that really means for his future. I do like this kind of overarching theme in Heavensward patch content that the Scions, as we start to put the band back together, they are all forever changed. Like, they all have really major figurative scars. And in some cases, like actual scars. Like Y'shtola lost her eyesight. Thancred also had something going on with his eyes. He's got the 2 different colored eyes now, but he's also cut off from his ether flow. Minfilia, we haven't really gotten into yet, but isn't with us anymore. She's essentially, like, for all intents and purposes, dead. Like the Scion, like they're changed like permanently. I think, like, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if Thancred kind of reestablishes his etheric flow. To me, this is really interesting character writing, that our heroes aren't just staying like these perfect, infallible characters, that they experience loss and defeat and are changed by it. And so far, all of the Scions we've gotten back together throughout Heavensward are very much changed by the defeat at the end of A Realm Reborn.
Yeah, we're almost going from the Scooby-Doo gang to X-Men. Everyone has now upgraded. Everyone has their own special powers. I wouldn't be surprised if Thancred's like cutoff gives him some sort of advantage. Like, he can now join us for primal fights or something along that line. That'd be pretty cool.
Let's get back to Minfilia, which of course also requires talking about one of my favorite dungeons so far, Antitower. Like, what a cool dungeon. Like, that thing went places, including the reveal that Minfilia, like, again, I'm still unclear on this and I don't want to Google it and I don't want answers in comments. I'm exploring this and I kind of like being in the fog of this. Feels like she became one with Hydaelyn and kind of became this representation of Hydaelyn. And in doing so, she's like no longer Minfilia. Minfilia is gone.
Yes. We're going to ask a lot of questions. Do not answer them. We know that Hydaelyn, like, sensed the forbidden spell carrying Y'shtola and Thancred through. And Hydaelyn was like, yo, jump on the train. On the way to safety, it seems like Minfilia was like, do you need some life force? And Hydaelyn's, oh, yes, please. I'm so tired. And so she gave up herself to the crystal.
That's the vibe I got. Yeah.
It's a big fire of lore drops in fancy fantasy speak, which is abundant here. They say,
before there was life in the depths of the ethereal sea, light and dark did once dwell as one.
Okay, so we're starting to get some some big Cimmerian lore here. Hydaelyn and Zodiark were once one big crystal, maybe one really big crystal.
But the darkness coveted power, and the balance was broken. Thus was I forced to banish him unto the distant heavens, to forever remain apart, a moon bound.
All right. So the moon. Yeah. Okay. We're making advancements here. So Zodiark is the moon. This is all very 10 and 3, which means 13 speak. So we'll take it with a grain of moon, but I think we're on the way.
Zodiark longeth to be made whole. For his restoration, for his resurrection, his servants labor without cease.
Ascians are laboring to break the moon, free the moon. Basically, Zodiark wants to be free and dominate.
They seek to tear down the barriers which surround the source.
There's some source talk here. I don't think we have any frame of reference for what the source is. I thought Hydaelyn was the source.
I certainly don't feel like I have a handle on what it is.
7 times have they succeeded. 7 times hath the darkness grown stronger. 7 times have I failed.
Okay, we're in the 7th era. We're the scions of the 7th dawn.
The Ascians cannot be suffered to continue.
Cool, let's kick Ascian butt. Perfect. That all makes sense.
Don't you mean let's kick Ascian?
Let's kick Ascian, yes. And then the crystal is, we finally got this connection back to them. We finally get to once again hear, feel, think. And then Minfilia explodes. Really, rather dramatically explodes. And we get this little nugget that items gifted by Hydaelyn or from Hydaelyn in the earlier eras are still stronger because they were enchanted by her in the past when she was stronger. So Hydaelyn's spent and done. I don't know if this is our last meeting with Hydaelyn at all. I don't know what that means for Minfilia. I like her dress. It's a nice, I liked Minfilia, I liked her waistline. Her dress is nice and her giga braids, but I'm a little sad. Now she's a robot or something,
Now she's gone, man. Minfilia gone. This was a good lead up because I wasn't crazy about Minfilia. She was very Leonardo, like kind of standard leader. Everyone else gets to be interesting because you have your leader that just keeps pointing the group where they need to go. But by proxy, it's something like I don't really respond to because I'm like, oh yeah, what's Minfilia's personality? Optimistic and good leadership qualities. Like, cool. Yeah.
That's what I like.
Thancred is a sexy badass. Y'shtola is sassy. And also, I'm not going to finish that sentence. Papalymo is like mean to Ida is really what I think his personality is. But in her absence, I did start to miss her. And I've mentioned that I'm kind of ready. I'm kind of ready to get the band back together. I'm ready to have, I miss hanging out in the office. I can't believe I'm saying this because it was one of my key complaints on A Realm Reborn. I miss hanging out in the Waking Sands or the Rising Stones with the group of Scions and seeing Minfilia behind the desk and seeing the Shattered Staff up on the wall. There's just these things where, even though I think it was maybe the weaker points of A Realm Reborn, it did feel like it felt like home within the game itself. But instead, it's like, no, this has changed forever and we can't go back.
I have a feeling that she's going to show up full robot mode. Hydaelyn's basically going to be like, hey, I'm done being a crystal. I'm now a person. And you're now going to have pseudo-human hang out with you.
Yeah, I could see that happening too, where I don't think we're gonna see anything Hydaelyn related for a while, because why else have this traumatic explosion of Minfilia at the end? I think it's kind of like you said. I think it's symbolizing that Hydaelyn is spent. I think we're gonna be heading into a fight that involves Zodiark getting to take the reins in Hydaelyn's absence. I don't think Hydaelyn's gone forever, because I feel like if Hydaelyn was gone forever, that they would have been a lot more clear about that. I think I wouldn't have doubt. We're heading into a story where Zodiark is really getting to make some big, bold moves without being kept in check.
But enough of that. I mean, what are you even doing talking about lore here? We got to talk Ishgard politics. back to the city.
Do we?
Back to Falcon's Rest to do the peace conference twice, by the way. Ultimately, this is a big service to Amanda Lane, who is a character we have not been big on, is a huge dweeb and coming of age and all that sort of thing.
I want to be clear. I've always liked Amanda Lane, but I also like dumping on Amanda Lane because, again, that's the point. I think their entire point was to make this really awkward teenage character who likes the idea of like being honorable and being a great warrior more than he actually wants to put in the work to be a honorable warrior. And I do think this is some of the weaker points of Heavensward, but I still enjoyed it, if that makes sense. It was enjoyable to watch Amanda Lane essentially grow up. He's still got some growing to do at the end of this. He's still a little bit of a whippersnapper that I feel like is still not self-reflective enough, but at the end of this, it's more in a charming way. Like, oh, Amanda Lane, don't you ever change. Because we also finally got to just watch Thancred just punch him in the face. I would give this second most satisfying scene of Heavensward right below saving Estinian in terms of how much I enjoyed watching it.
It led into the grand melee, which wasn't as grand as I was hoping. Granted, the fight with Raban was super cool. We win, the authority back, everyone loves Ishgard again, or at least it inspired people who weren't watching. Don't worry about it. Let's go do Peace Conference number 2, which the real takeaway from Peace Conference number 2, the real moment was Dragon Shockface.
Kudos to them. It was the first time I felt like I was aware of the age of this engine. Like most of Heavensward looks incredible, especially when you consider how old, like it's a PS3 engine.
It was beautiful. Vanofnir reacting to the remade relief of Saint Shiva and Hreysvalgur, which was a great connection we've made across the storyline from being in the basement with Heishard. And hey, not that we're going to linger here at all, because immediately Estinian shows up and stabs Vanofnir.
Yeah, that's such a great reveal, because I was like bracing for a retread on the civil unrest, because I thought almost we were like heading towards a civil war. I love the focus and the speed with which we move after Estinian shows up and just shanks Vidofnir.
Yeah.
That happens, and everything we do from here on out, I just inject it directly into my nerd veins. I loved every second of it.
While some games might be cagey about these sort of lore bits, Estinian just shows up with eyeballs on his armor and they look diseased. They look like tumors sitting upon his armor. And that makes your brain go, oh, we could save him. Like those can be removed.
It's a real cut the cancer out revelation.
It could have been Nidhogg showing up. It could have been like real, like, is he still in there? Like, no, he's clearly right there. There's his eyeballs underneath it, and there's the eyeballs on the outside of his armor. Let's save him.
It wields, I think, bold and easy to understand symbolism to its credit. Because Final Fantasy XIV is clearly happy to keep things murky when it doesn't want you to put the pieces together yet. Right? Like, I'm still unsure exactly what's going on with Hydaelyn and Zodiark and Minfilia and all of that stuff. But the second Estinian shows up, I'm like, oh, we're gonna attempt to save him. And, you know, Alphino drives that point home, and it becomes a really interesting arc for him. Like, Alphino experiences a ton of character growth.
Well, and it's not cheap. We had Midgardsormr, like, chilling in our soul or chilling all over our shoulder, and he finally appears to help convince Hreysvalgur that we are good people, that Sir Emmerich here is a good person, that you should help out. And naturally, Emmerich's a little shocked, a little like, what? You've had a dragon this whole time? But he gets over it quickly because our deeds speak better than this brief, what could be a betrayal in a whole storyline that just takes forever and farts off and we have to like regain his trust or something. Like, I was just really, really pleased we just zoomed right past that and continued on to the action.
We're also skipping past Hreysvalgur's trial, which like that dungeon was gorgeous. You know, again,
yeah, it was very pretty.
Like insert hashtag PS3 game here, because that dungeon looked really good. Music was freaking fantastic. We actually got to fight Hreysvalgur. What a cool fight, by the way. But then, like, the payoff for that, where it's there's nothing else. There's no. Okay, it's time to go grind the dragon reputation so that Raisfulgar will come fight Nidhogg. Nope, you're done. Like, get to Ishgard, because Nidhogg is murdering everybody, and Raisfulgar just flies in and starts kicking ass. It was just very refreshing. We just got straight to a climactic battle.
You make a huge point there. That momentum is carried through. Right in front of you is Nidhogg, ready to be fought. And if you were playing this solo, you just jump right in, you queue up, and you get to face the trial at a difficulty which would be manageable so you can keep continuing the story. For us, we were able to get everyone together, invite people from the stream, and have a minimum eye level fight, which was just so epic to see all these different forms individually, the different stages as we went from just Nidhogg to his ads, died because they were both together and did amazing breath weapons, and so we pulled them apart, and then we died to him slamming around as hybrid Estinian Nidhogg as he became like a flying demon man. Then we died again when he transformed back into Nidhogg and had like this slammy laser attack from space that we all had to stack for.
Yeah, the stack circle that ended. Yeah, every time we like died to a different mechanic, and then we would get further into a fight, and then die to another new mechanic and kind of study it and figure it out. And it was just, man, it's just like, it was just everything I love about MMOs, like distilled into a single little like 30-minute segment of us learning this fight and eventually conquering it. Like, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I think I even cussed a few times on stream, but it's like good cussing. Like it's that like, what did I get wrong? Let's take a second, remove ourselves from the situation, figure it out, and overcome it. And it's such a good example of why I love cooperative MMO content. It really, really is.
It was peak MMO. It was awesome. It was flashy. There was a point where in the end, the final lasers were slamming down, and I hovered up in my sweater above the whole group, casting a shield to block some of this damage as a heal ran out. Like, the entire final steps of Faith Trial was just so cool. And then just right into the action as though your character was there. Nidhogg just went down. Let's get those eyeballs off of him. You go in and you start pulling, and they bring back the story. They bring back the spirits. Iceheart's there. Horshafon's there. And they help you remove those eyes. And it's a beautiful scene.
The game, I wouldn't say went to great lengths, but it did remind us. Like, there was a scene a little bit before the end here in 3.3 where they were showing us like the sepia stills of Estinian Iceheart, Alphino, and the Warrior of Light sitting around the campfire, you know, before they're about to go meet Raisfulgar for the first time. And I remember loving that scene when it originally took place, because I was just like, I love this kind of stuff, especially with characters that you like. Like, my favorite stuff in Mass Effect was just like hanging out on the ship and talking to everybody. I love kitchen scenes in Firefly. The apartment scene is literally the best part of Avengers 2, a movie I think is otherwise forgettable. Like, watching these characters we love just be themselves with each other is a lot of fun, and it reinforces the bonds that these characters have. And so to remind me of that campfire scene it really worked for me. The point is, it feels earned. Like, this entire arc, like Heavensward, not just the Dragon Song War, which is like, you know, this post OG Heavensward launch content, but everything from the beginning of Heavensward till this point, to the point of saving Estinian. It is also Harshafon's story. It is also Iceheart's story, and we wouldn't have gotten to this point without those characters. And so it absolutely feels earned to invoke their literal spirits at this point. God, dude, it just friggin' worked for me. I was so hyped at the end of this, and it was such a good mix of. This is where the I think the quality of doing it at mid-eye level, like how that kind of accentuates everything, really comes in, because I was like hyped from the fight itself, and then I was rewarded with one of the best caps on a story I've ever seen in a video game.
I do have a concern, though. How trustworthy is this abyss that we threw the eyeballs into? Maybe I have maybe I'm paranoid from other games that just keep bringing things back, but it looks like just a hole. Is that a safe place to keep the eyeballs of greatest evil?
I don't know where you learn this in the story, and I have a sneaking suspicion that this is explained later on and I was spoiled. But multiple folks mentioned that it's like a ether storm down there. And like nothing could really survive if it tried to get the eyes back.
But then aren't the Warriors of Darkness, or one of them, their tank player? I guess Marauder's a tank. But whatever, they have 2 tanks. It's fine. But one of the Warriors of Darkness is standing on the edge and looking down. He's like, everything is proceeding as planned. And the Assassins are like, yes, this is perfect. I'm like, is it? Was this all? This seems like a mess, frankly. I mean, maybe you're just sowing chaos. But this seems like a really big mess at the moment. And it seems like we've been countering what you're up to. You want the eyeballs down there? Is that good for you?
Yeah, I'm still a little fuzzy on that if we want to talk about things that we're unclear about. Were the Warriors of Darkness like spying where the eyes went, or were they just kind of spying on us and Ishgard in general?
What was that face? So we've got the best face in the game, Dragon Shock. Currently, best face. Most confusing face, whatever face that Warrior of Darkness buddy made over the abyss. Or maybe you're right, it was just over the Steps of Faith and over the whole of Ishgard.
To me, it seems too soon to just be like, and the eyes are back. Like, we just had this triumphant moment. It would almost feel like it undercut our victory a little bit if we were just right back to, and the bad guys have Nidhogg's eyes. Time to deal with Nidhogg's eyes again. Now, granted, I think it's still a pretty massive victory that Estinian lived, that we saved him. And it wouldn't undercut that.
And what a great moment of character growth. You know, he loses his Batman gruff. I love the way he talks, frankly.
I love the way he looks. Like,
yeah.
Where can I, I'm just going to keep growing my hair until it looks like Estinian's.
He's a beautiful man under all that. And it's cool to see him out and about.
When they cut to Estinian bed, I think I just kind of whispered, majestic. His hair's just so good. This game is full of amazing hair.
Naturally. It's a Final Fantasy game after all.
I don't know what I expected.
This is just one city. Like, this is the story of one big city. And yes, we could use their help to fight the Garleans eventually. But there's just this great moment where Estinian disappears. And you're like, where's he going? I want to know. I want to keep playing. And then Alphino turns to you and he's like, oh, man, that was interesting. But hey, there's plenty of primals and Ascians still to go. I'm like, yes, all right. Like, I'm so into that. Let's keep doing that. And there's just this beautiful moment where the Count closes his book. And you just go, ah, what a tale. And I'm hungry for more. Let's keep going.
Very Bilbo at the end of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And then he takes a nap. He takes a nice dad nap in his chair and he's earned it.
All right. Are you ready for my biggest gripe at the end of the Dragon Song War?
Okay.
We still haven't had that drink with Aymeric.
I thought when we were like on the platform, he like met us there as we flew back on Midgardsormr, which was nice. We kind of like, we flew alongside Hraesvelgr and we're like, you got your eye? And he's like, it's right here. I'm like, excellent. See you later. Have fun. I did expect to immediately go to date night with Aymeric and I'm a little sad. Again,
it's this balance in the story of Final Fantasy XIV. It does a good job of kind of bringing it back down to a personal scale. Like, after everything that we just went through, it was good to have that scene with Aymeric on the landing. Like, it's just like, yeah, we just like saved an entire nation, and now it's just two friends that have been through the ringer together, just taking a moment to breathe.
But I do want that moment to drink and to have our little party. I look forward to it. Ishgard's now gone House of Lords and House of Commons, and they restructured the government. Excellent. I'm ready to keep killing primals. Let's rock.
The community hasn't been quiet about the fact that Stormblood, for a lot of you, doesn't live up to Heavensward. I just keep hearing, the phrase we keep hearing repeated is that it's not that Stormblood is bad, it's that it came after Heavensward, which, fair. So at the same time, I am interested to see where it goes. I'm kind of ready for like maybe more of a Scion focus, getting back to that kind of goofiness, weirdness, kind of over the topness that, even though it seems like it's heading in that cosmic direction, right? Because we're dealing with Zodiark. Like it kind of seems like it's inevitable that we're heading in that direction to me.
Which is fine for your 5th and 6th expansion. Like we can go those places. But it's nice that this was so localized as we met our characters. Now I'm going to care about those people when the universe crumbles and the multiverse shatters.
Yeah, no, it really does. It is such a good grounded story, which is hilarious to think about because we literally had an army of gargantuan dragons trying to tear down a mega castle city. Like, it is about as epic can be. But in the grand scheme of things, it's very localized. It's very real world. It's very tactile. I loved it. It's such a good... It's had me thinking on some of my favorite endings. And I think this really is one of my favorite stories I've seen told in a game. It feels weird to compare this to standalone story games that I love. Things like the God of War reboot and Last of Us, and hell, even like the first Red Dead Redemption. Those are all stories that really stick with me. And this is another one by far. This is going to be one of those things where when I talk about like the best video game stories I have ever experienced, this is now on the shelf alongside all of those.
I had that realization as well. I went back to Ulda and just started getting into weaving and doing some crafting, and the old A Realm Reborn music was playing, and there was kind of this like, oh, I'm back home sort of feel, like a single player game. It is made me care much faster than I expected.
I hope you're not watching this if you're considering playing the free trial because you just got spoiled to hell and back, but you should play the free trial because this is all part of it. Like, subscribe for more videos like this. And thanks so much for coming on this journey with us as always, everybody. Until our next Heavensward video, GG.